Okie dokie. So all being well, you can still see my slide. So thank you very much, firstly, for joining me today. Once I've done the main bulk of the presentation, then we will be doing relaxation together. The only disclaimer for relaxation is to ensure that you're not using any heavy machinery or driving at the time, so you must be in a nice relaxed state. You could be sat down, ideally with the head supported at that point, or laying down or snuggled in bed. It's totally up to you what you want to do. But thank you again for joining me today. So that's the quick bit of housekeeping. The chat box is available for you guys to utilise. I'm hoping I'll have time for after the relaxation for any questions you may have. Sorry, I just got muted again. If you mute all, I get muted as well. Sorry, co-host. Thank you. So I'm going to be really good and remember to do my slides. So this is going to, I'm going to work well at doing my slides. So first of all, just a very quick introduction to who I am. Some of you may well know me already. Some of you may not, so just to make sure that you know who I am. My name is Kim Clayden. I do volunteer for the HMSA as the Professional Education Coordinator, helping educate professionals about hypermobility syndromes. And my day job is a solution-focused psychotherapist and clinical hypnotherapist. And I retrained it's over 4 years now to do this job. And the reason I was drawn to it was all the neuroscience-based stuff, which I'm going to be enlightening you guys with a bit of today as well. If you haven't already seen a presentation like this from me before, I've done plenty in the past of different things. And if you are a member of the HMSA, there's loads of now members resources that you guys can go jump and have a look at as well. I also do things like patient education like this, but also I do joint events like our Living Well with Hypermobility Syndromes that we do each year with the lovely OT Jo Southall that you've probably heard of as well. So each Monday I go live at 8 o'clock, usually, apart from this week, to do relaxation with everybody that comes in, our members. And I run not just the patient education side of things, but as I say, the professional education side of things as well. So I kind of like hop between the two and sit on both fences. So the relaxation recordings that we do each Monday are all recorded, and you can utilise those as much as you like. I will also provide a couple of QR codes on a slide at the end, which will be to my personal recordings if you'd like. Then there's a nighttime one and then a deep muscle relaxation one, and I can explain how they work and why they work as well later. So I did decide to specialise in pain and long-term health conditions management because I'm diagnosed with hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos myself, as well as fibro, any POTS and other things. And I'm known in the hypermobility community as an expert patient because I lecture professionals about these conditions as well. So I get to tell them in the nicest way possible to listen to us and our symptoms, and it's not all in our head. And so, we work with them really nicely. There's a lot of enthusiastic people out there and professionals that come for training now, which is really good. We're getting more and more interest as well, which is lovely. So today we're going to learn a little bit of the neuroscience behind relaxation, the focus state of attention in particular, and it is lovely how it all works the brain and why it's really important that we understand that and utilize that. We're going to have a look at brain waves in action, slightly in action. So they are screen prints of someone's brain waves that were in action. I don't unfortunately have an EEG to show you live, but I would love to be able to do that at some point. But we have screen prints of the one that I was doing in training. And you'll get to see the lovely maps of the brain and the brain waves in action as well, which is really quite cool how that all works. So we're looking at an awakened state, we're looking at the conscious state, we're looking at then when we're in a relaxed state as well, the differences we'll see with that, which is quite interesting. What actually happens within your brain. We have the brain map, so you'll be able to see that and what's exactly going on there, which the brain waves, which ones are engaging, which ones go quiet, when they change over, all sorts of things. So there's some really lovely things that happen only in relaxation, and we can utilize those for certain things as well, which is really cool for us. We'll be discussing physical benefits as well, so not just the mind, the body, the mind and the brain, but the body as well. Even down to how deep breathing exercises are beneficial for pain and for things like POTS or autonomic dysfunctions. And then we'll be doing a relaxation taster, and there should be time for some questions and answers too within that chat box, as I've said before. So hopefully we'll get through all of it, which I'm sure will be fine. I can whiz through, hopefully not too fast, so you can stay with me. If I do talk too fast, I will apologise now. I do have ADHD. I try my utmost to go as easy as I can, but sometimes I do get very passionate with what I'm talking about and I do speed up. So I will try to be as consciously aware of that as possible for you all. Okay, so first things first then, the Rati metaphor. It's a really lovely metaphor that explains how the brain would be working if we had not too much stress, not too much pain. So kind of like your average bear, unlike us with the wonky bodies going on. Okay, so we're describing the brain here when the bucket's fairly empty, working well as a business. All right, so we have our prefrontal cortex, that lumpy part at the front that you know as you, that is your conscious part. That is the part that we use to interact with the world. It's the part that we use to be aware of those interactions with each other really nicely. Now, this part of the brain, this is kind of like our boss or our CEO of our business, if you will. Then we have our anterior cingulate cortex. I'll put my teeth back in. We think of that as our personal assistant to the boss. And then we have our amygdala, which is our fire safety officer. Okay. Now, when the business is working efficiently, our prefrontal cortex will ask the personal assistant to go off and delegate to other areas of the brain, comes back to the personal assistant, back to the boss, and explains the changes or any changes that need doing. So it should work fairly well. It should work fairly well. Unfortunately, when we have things like random symptoms, new pain, even current pain, we have all the other stuff that we're dealing with our daily life as well on top of that. So pets poorly, kids ill, whatever it may be, all of that on top. It doesn't work as efficiently as we'd like it to. And that isn't any fault of our own. It is just how the brain works. Okay, so that efficiency of communication breaks down, and it isn't our fault, but we can definitely do things to help with that communication by like relaxation, and I'll explain exactly how that works as well. So the efficiency should be the boss tells our personal assistant we need to do X, Y, and Z. Personal assistant goes off, chats to the rest of the brain. There may be some little changes that need to happen in order for those changes for the boss to happen. So they'll feed back into the personal assistant. If change isn't too bad, it will go ahead and tell them to do it. If there's big things that need to be considered, it will feed back to the boss and say, well, actually, have you considered X, Y, and Z? You know, these big things before this happens. So it should have a nice flow of communication. And the process falls down in a number of different ways, but the main one it being the CEO, that boss, will bombard your personal assistant with, can you do this? Can you do this? Can you do this? And your personal assistant will be like, yes, if you just shush and let me get on with it. It becomes overwhelmed, absolutely overloaded by this constant bombardment from that prefrontal cortex, from that boss. When that happens, we're in trouble. Okay, so the bucket's full, brain's been bombarded. If the message from your boss to your anterior cingulate cortex, that personal assistant, isn't clear enough, this is when the brain starts to think really quite negative, but also thinks like, oh, well, I wouldn't be doing this and this wouldn't happen and I wouldn't do that. I can't do that. You know, very, very kind of negative way of thinking rather than thinking around the issue and how we can problem solve. It can't problem solve. So what are we going to do if we can't problem solve? Unfortunately for us, our amygdala earthquake starts to happen. Now, our amygdala, generally speaking, when the bucket's fairly empty, we're doing okay, life's okay, there's no pandemic, things like that, then our amygdala should be just kind of sitting down, drinking tea, eating its biscuits, and just letting the rest of the brain do its job. Okay, it should only jump up and act if there's an actual crisis or emergency. Okay, but when our personal assistant is bombarded, the amygdala earthquake starts to happen. It stomps around the office. It gets its fire hydrant and starts getting ready to spray everywhere. So our brain gets absolutely hijacked by our amygdala, our fight flight center of our brain. And unfortunately, this is why no clear thinking happens. We can stumble on words, struggle with sentences, brain fog becomes even worse, and thoughts become even more negative, really easily done, because the amygdala has taken over. Creativity becomes an issue. If you like creating things, crafting, blogging, writing, whatever, if the amygdala earthquake starts to happen, we really struggle to get over that, because the amygdala has stopped that communication with that upper brain. It is now in fight flight. So the rest of it doesn't need to be involved with just survival at this point. So our personal assistant has to have a certain level of detail. It needs to be crystal clear for it to happen, okay, for change to happen as well. So if we're trying to think about what we want to be able to do, how we can manage to do X, Y, and Z, our personal assistant has to be so clear about this, particularly as well for people who are neurodiverse, ADHD and stuff, that prefrontal cortex not functioning quite the way we'd like it to. So we have to be super, super clear about what steps we can make to make things happen, to change things and to make it happen. So writing down goals makes things more likely to happen, makes it more likely for us to achieve goals. It cements it in the brain, makes it stick more in the brain. And I know, apps are absolutely handy. Typing in your phone for to-do lists and stuff can be really handy. But those to-do lists won't stick in our brain and be chewed on and worked on as easy as if you've handwritten it down. So that's why I bought a tablet. I had to go paperless on a boat, so I don't have the biggest bit of room for all my files, so I went paperless. But I made sure I had a pen with the tablet, so I could still handwrite down what's been good, my notes, my to-do, to make sure that I'm sticking that in my brain as much as I can possibly do. And there's certain questioning that we use in the solution-focused approach that, becomes really difficult, shall we say, to do when your amygdala is stomping around. So we do certain types of questioning to make that a lot clearer, to make that personal assistant really clear about what it is it wants to be able to achieve. Now, trance or relaxation makes all of the communication much more effective in the brain. So it's really quite interesting that we see on the EEG machine in a little bit on the screen prints of the map of the brain, the amygdala earthquake, when you do relaxation, actually disappears. It's amazing. So that fight flight part of the brain actually shushes, which is quite amazing, because if you're not, you're constantly fight flighting, you're constantly getting cortisol, you're constantly getting adrenaline, you can feel really rubbish because that's flowing around your system. So putting relaxation on stops that from happening. Amygdala earthquake calms down. Then what we see is the personal assistant activity shoots up, gets organizing on what you would like to be able to achieve. How can you do all those things you want to do? Starts chewing on all that lovely information. And the prefrontal cortex, the boss, it's almost like it's gone off and playing golf. It stops bombarding the personal assistant. So the personal assistant activity shoots up during trance, or relaxation can then identify priorities and identify answers that you have within you, can actually work on those and find those, problem solve really nicely just by being in a relaxed state. So we are creating the best environment for the brain to do what it should be doing when the bucket's empty. But of course, living with the type of conditions that we do, it's really hard to have an empty bucket. So this is why it's really important for us to try and regularly do something like relaxation, because our brain can then start to work and problem solve again. And it's really key in helping us to manage our brains, but also our bodies as well. And I'll explain a little bit as to why shortly. But trance or relaxation, it gives us a really focused state of attention. Okay, I'm just going to check. I do not need to, nope, I do not need to change the slide just yet. So trance is, yeah, it's really, really ordinary in many ways. We go in and out of trance loads of times a day. You've probably gone in and out of a trance-like state just listening to me here today. And trance is, you know, when you're reading books, so you're in a trance-like state, you're listening to music, watching TV. You've ever driven from A to B and can't remember how you've gotten there? I used to do it all the time when I was training and coaching at the ice rink. I'd turn up at the morning at the crack of dawn, sometimes before, and I can't remember the journey there. I'd just be like, boom, and I'd try and think about how I got here, and I just couldn't, because I'd done it so much. My brain just went into a trance-like state and got me there. So all it is when that lovely intellectual part of that brain and the primitive part of that brain, the amygdala and limbic system, are focused on the same thing. It's a focused state of attention. And that's when we have access to that beautiful subconscious mind of ours. That subconscious mind has no barriers to memory or learning. And that really helps us as well, which I'll explain a little further on. So what we're going to do now is I'm just going to show you a picture of the lovely EEG machine that we had strapped to our heads. Okay. Now the EEG machine that we had on when we were training many moons ago now, I'm going to try not to think about it because I'm just going to feel old. So they've come along a bit since the caps and electrodes. You've probably seen people on TV with those sort of things, and they do still use those for really detailed studies, which is great because you can have a lot more electrodes attached to your head, you can get a lot more information. But for the purposes of what we want to do and be able to see, this is what we use because it gives us 4 main brain waves, which is wonderful. And we can really see what the brain's up to in a conscious state and a relaxed state, and that's exactly what we want to be able to see. So this will just give you a bit of information of what you're going to see shortly. So we're going to have a look at the brain waves which we are using during trance or relaxed state, and when we're in a conscious state as well. They may be a little bit fuzzy because, as I say, I was taking pictures in training, okay, and it was the board that I was taking pictures of, but hopefully this will all make sense shortly. So having a look at those brain waves, which we are using during that relaxed state. So as I say, this is when I was training a while ago now. But we've got the delta, we've got the theta, we've got alpha, put my teeth back in, and beta. Okay, so these are the main brain waves that we need to see when we're doing relaxation. Okay, and also when we're in a conscious state, for us to see what differences there are and what they do, which I'll explain shortly. So each brain wave will correlate to a different part of what we do with our brain. So the EEG machine is picking up on electricity that is coming from your brain. So we've got little neurons, little cells, tiny minute cells within the brain. When they fire, they produce electricity. It's a bit like an orchestra, okay? Your brain is firing with lots of different parts of the orchestra all at once. So it's more than just one neuron firing at the time. It's a whole bunch of them at the same time. And what that EEG machine does is it picks up when there's lots and lots of activity, maybe like a string section of an orchestra, all playing at once, you know, getting the strings all ready before they start. It picks up on that activity going through the machine wirelessly and then onto the computer. We then have this wonderful, wonderful map of the brain that we can see here and what's going on. So this actually, when it's live, we will see the brain kind of sweep through. So the red line into the orange, yellow and green, you can see is the brain doing a sweep. So when it's live, it will go through multiple colors: green, blue when it's relaxed, red when there's a lot of activity. And every so often, our brain will do a big sweep anyway. So every few seconds or so, our brain goes and sweeps through. And you can see the sweep through happen live on that screen as well. So we're seeing nodules that are picking up these brain waves, that activity in the brain. It's wonderful. So we've got the 4 brain waves, we've got the 4 separate maps there. So this is exactly what is going on in the brain at the moment for us, because we're conscious. It's almost instantaneous from what happens in the brain to what we see on that screen when we do this as well. And the frequency that's sent out changes depending what you're doing, thinking, visualizing as well. All has different levels of arousal and stuff as well. So you'll see different areas firing up depending on what's going on. And different colours depending on, as I say, what's going on as well. If it's a bit more of a relaxed area, not really in use, we get more of a blue colour. So when we're in a really relaxed state, I'll show you shortly, you'll see mostly blue. It's quite amazing, the difference between that busy brain and the relaxed brain. So particularly the first one, the most important one for us, is down in the bottom right there is the beta wave. So beta means busy. So the bit of the brain that chats to you all the time, da, 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 in the background, the bit of the brain that might be trying to make notes or, listen to what's going on today, having concentration, but generally talking to you when you're trying to sleep and you can hear your brain chuntering to yourself in the background. That's the beta wave. That's when your brain's busy thinking, doing things. Okay. It's a bit of the brain that we're using at the moment because we're conscious, we're awake, we're thinking, we're doing. So it's a very busy part of the brain. It's busy for me because I'm thinking about this presentation, thinking about the words I'm saying, processing stuff at the same time, seeing notifications, all of these things was creating the busy part of the brain to be very active. So beta is busy. We are conscious, we're concentrating on today's presentation, for example. It will keep sweeping lots and lots of red colour and yellows and things like that. Not much kind of in the way of blues and greens for the non kind of conscious or alert state. So you'll notice at this point that the person that we are talking about or taking a picture from today on this presentation is in a conscious state. So every 3 seconds, as I say, we sweep through that red, the brain doing its thing and checking through. Full check, make sure everything's in working order, it's happy, it kind of relaxes for a second or two and then sweeps through again. Is everything okay? Cool. And then it will carry on going through. So it's really quite amazing to see it live. If I do get a machine at some point, although they're rather expensive, or I get to borrow one, I'll try and do a live presentation for you all. That would be awesome. So the bottom left is when we are in a bit more relaxed state, more creative thinking, more focused state. So thinking about things that you'd like to happen, problem solving as well. It's a kind of a light trance or light relaxed state of a focused state of attention. So if you are somebody who likes to just sit and crochet, colouring, drawing, anything like that, it's that part of the brain that will start to really kind of calm down as well. So it will go kind of a nice light blue state. The alpha is actually more about visualization of things. So let's see if I can go to the next one. So here we go. So we're trying visualization, for example. The brain, when we're in that relaxed state, changes. And I'll explain why the beta is blue in a minute, but the alpha, we can see, particularly at the back, we notice dots that kind of fire up every so often when you think about something or trying to visualize something. So when we do relaxation, we're describing things for you to try and visualize and see in that mind's eye, and it's then we have the brain fairly in relaxed state. So this is why beta is now quiet. So the beta wave is blue because there's not much activity when we're in relaxed state. It goes quiet. It's amazing. So the busy chuntery part of the brain actually does go quiet, which is quite amazing. Sometimes your brain will wander off wherever, that's fine, but generally speaking, it will go into a nice quietened state. So every time we describe something for us to visualize, the brain starts to light up at the back there because it's asking for visualization. You're trying to visualize, which is really cool. So it's more about visualization of things. So if we have a think about now about our pet, our partner, our friend, perhaps what they're up to even, if you try and think about and visualize that part of the brain at the back starts to prickle. on the machine and go activity. So you'll get dots of red when that happens. So let's give it a go. So you can close your eyes now if you'd like to, free to do so, but you don't have to, of course, but now's a good time. So we can try and have a little go about this. So we close our eyes and we just want to think about that pet, that person, whoever it may be. Just try and visualize and think about now what they may look like. What are they doing, perhaps? Are they making a cup of tea? Are they reading a book, watching TV in a different room? Is the dog going for a sniff somewhere in the garden? But when we do this, we just try and think about and visualize for a second what we want to be able to think about and visualize. That activity at the back of the brain, we get some stimulation there, some red dots pop up, and the brain's nice and calm everywhere else. So we're nicely in that alpha state now. Seeing those things, visualizing what they might be doing, but what they look like. Maybe think about their hair. What color eyes do they have? Can you see their eyes? That sort of thing. Okay. So at the back of the brain we are using when we think about those things. So you can open your eyes now. All right. And you can look at that slide. So you can see that you're using that circled area at the back there, the visualization. And that's what it looks like when we're thinking. Okay, so the back of the brain there is associated with picturing and visual imagery. Okay, so it's all about visualization. This is why it's important for us to do relaxation, to visualize these things, visualize goals. The more you see it, the more you feel it, believe it to happen, the more your brain will work towards that goal as well. So the front of the brain is more problem solving. Back of the brain fires when we get lots of visualization. We can see things in the past, present, future that's not even happened yet. Doesn't matter to the brain, doesn't matter. We can still try and visualize those things and work towards goals, even if they're not happening right now and they're something you want to work towards. Your brain don't care. That's the future. It will still think this is what's going on. Let's work towards it. If you can visualize it, it will work towards it. So now when we do deep relaxation, like my Monday night ones with the HMSA, you may or not be familiar with those, but I also give everybody my nighttime download. When we do those types of things, we see on the map that we get this nice alert state to start with, but then we go into that nice calm state. So the busy brain goes blue, goes nice and quiet. That's exactly what we want. Okay. So at the beginning, we get the creative thoughts and then go into that nice trance-like state. Your brain, as I say, wanders. That's fine. It can wander, but then try and visualize the next thing that we say if you can, and that's great. If not, just enjoy relaxation. All right. So when things are active, like I need to think about this now, boop, you'll just know that that's lighting up at the back. It's really quite cool. So theta is thinking. Okay, so we think about visualizing. So we go think. So I'm listening to the thing she's telling me to visualize. I'm now trying to visualize the thing, and we're relaxing at the same time. So the delta wave is relaxing wave. So generally speaking, when we are in a relaxed state, our delta wave is nice and quiet, relaxing too. Beta's busy, theta thinking. Okay, so we've got some lovely brain waves going on there. So it's sort of conscious, mainly red. That's what we see. And then we're in a more relaxed state. We get bluer and deeper blue. And then the red only highlights depending on thinking or visualizing at that time. Thinking about what I'm saying and relaxation, and then visualizing. So we get those different parts light up, but the beta remains quiet. The amygdala earthquake stops. And we can actually work on things. The brain calms down. It's amazing. It's wonderful. So it's given ourselves chance to empty our stress out of our stress bucket. I talk about stress buckets a lot. If you've not seen any of the previous stuff I've done, do go have a look on the HMSA website. I talk about stress buckets a fair amount, and how we could kind of bring them down. But that is how we're kind of emptying the bucket really as well, is by doing lovely relaxation. It's wonderful to be in a relaxed state. The part of the brain that is normally loud actually shushes. So that's what we want to get the brain to do. Then we can think and visualize, work towards those goals. We can plan things, create goals, come up with answers to problems, whatever it may be. And then when you're listening to words to relaxation, there's a lot going on in the background as well. So just to be aware of that, I think it's quite cool. Working towards what you want to work towards, that's when your brain does it. It's when it's relaxed like that. So a lot of hypermobile folk can just go on to like breathing and how that kind of helps as well. There we go. So a lot of hypermobile folk, myself included, can have a lot of breathing dysfunction. I'll put my teeth in, breathing dysfunction. It's not uncommon for us to breathe fairly poorly, actually. You may hear me struggling to breathe occasionally because I sit quite far forward and I squish myself because floppy is comfy for hypermobile people. I talk about posture with people quite a bit. I know Jo Southall, the OT, does. When she mentions posture, everybody goes, starts to sit up properly. Then we can breathe a lot better. Now, I don't have the best posture in the world, and I'm still working on it. But, you know, for a lot of hypermobile people, we do find that floppy pose very comfortable. So we do it. You know, unfortunately, we can slouch a lot as well. We then squish our lungs. We don't open our lungs fully, so we don't breathe properly. So we do more shallower breathing, and then that can create more fight-flight responses and trigger POTS and things like that. So we can trigger our own autonomic response just by how we sit and flop. We can trigger a fight-flight in our brain because we are doing more shallower breathing. So just being aware of that can be really, really useful, particularly if you've got POTS like myself, thinking about that and how we can try and work on posture just a little bit at a time. So even if you just try and sit up for a second every so often, get a good breath in, then your nervous system can calm down. So if you're feeling very potsy, if you're struggling with your breath, that sort of thing, just try and have a good little posture for a moment. Get a good belly breath, can be really, really good. So we can actually then get the rest digest side of our autonomic system to kind of kick in a bit more, which is exactly what we want. So both of the dysregulation in the autonomic system, and of course the autonomic system as well, and these I call it dodgy breathing because I'm rubbish at breathing anyway. You know, they can unfortunately trigger the fight-flight response. So it is triggering more than normal. It's not our fault, as I say. It's just something that comes along with the territory of being super bendy and floppy. It's not our fault, but it's working on that. Just to be aware of it, that is something that can trigger it as well. The sympathetic nervous system is our fight-flight system that you can see on the screen there, whereas the parasympathetic nervous system is our rest-digest nervous system. And as well as why relaxation is good for us, because we are engaging the rest digest side of things as well. So when we look at what's happening, they both affect the organs in different ways, the gut, the stomach, in particular, our nervous system, you know, it inhibits our gut, can cause IBS symptoms. The parasympathetic stimulates the gut. The intestine, the bladder, you know, rest, digest side of things, that's important for POTS clients. We need to, and hypermobile people that I work with, allowing the sympathetic nervous system to be active only if we need it to, and the parasympathetic to kind of kick in more so, because it will have a good effect, you know, kicking in the rest digest has a better effect on heart rate, breathing rate, calms the tummies down and all sorts of things. So simple breathing exercises like in through the nose, out through the mouth, through pursed lips is good. A lot of people have things on their, you know, smartwatches and stuff. You could do breathing exercises with prompts. The one that I personally like is imagining blowing a bubble. So when you was a kid, if you had the little plastic things that used to dip in, it was like washing up liquid water solution, and then blowing the bubble. So in through that nose, and then very, very gently blowing that bubble outwards. I visualize blowing bubbles. That's what I do. If my POTS is triggering quite a lot, I will do some nice breathing exercises like that. So in through the nose, out through the mouth is important, but making sure the out breath is longer than the in breath, then we can send a signal to the brain, everything's okay, we can relax. Then we can set the parasympathetic nervous system to engage instead of the pots constantly firing as well. So it's little things like that that can be useful. You may have tried different breathings before, but making sure that out breath is longer than the in breath will do the signal to the brain, which is exactly what we need. So I thought I'd add that in here now, because with the weather we've been having, the heat and stuff, it has been triggering my pots and very heat intolerant. It triggers my pots a lot better with the sips of water and things like that, the ice packs and things. It's all part and parcel of that management of things. Having breathing exercises is a really good tool to have in the tool bag, basically, of things that help us. Okay. So what's really good as well with relaxation, I'm just going to try and get these all up. There we go. So when we do relaxation, it does naturally slower our heart rate, which is good for Potsy folk as well as everybody else. You know, it's good to have a relaxed heart rate every so often. Blood pressure reduces as well, which is really important. Digestion improves. Now, I know for people with Crohn's and stuff like that, they can get absolutely flared by stress and horrible things that happen in our world, you know, completely out of our control. But doing relaxation as consciously as you can during the day or during the week can absolutely improve things like that, those symptoms. Gut dysmotility, we can't stop, but the actual processing of the gut and what it should be doing can be improved by doing relaxation, because it's digesting at that point rather than holding on to things. So stress does have an absolute impact on our gut function. You know, the brain can just decide that, you know, if I am too stressed, I've got too much going on, and pain is a stressor. So absolutely, we have more in our bucket to start the day than the average bear, just to throw that out there. But the pain being the stressor, it does go in the bucket. So I make sure when I'm having a flare up of pain, something new, symptoms happen, something or other, I up my relaxation game, because I know more is going in my bucket. And using relaxation as a tool to manage symptoms is really important. So finding something that works for you. Now, if you've not managed to do relaxation in the past, you know, it's fine, because when the bucket's really full, it's really hard to just kind of sit and relax. Especially neurodiverse folk can find it really hard to just sit and relax and not fidget and things like that. You can absolutely fidget. It's not a problem. You know, it's absolutely fine. Some people on my Monday night relaxations aren't actually laying down or sitting doing relaxation. They can be crafting at the same time and listening. You know, that's absolutely fine. If you find that you cannot lay there and do to start off with, that's fine. Do something else at the same time, as long as you're giving yourself that best environment for the brain. So you've got that focused state of attention on doing your crafty thing, having a relaxation on as well is really good to empty in the bucket. Okay, so mixing it up with things like that. Try it in different scenarios. As long as you are not driving or operating heavy machinery, then try it, you know. So if you like colouring and stuff, I love adult colouring books, they're really fun. Doing puzzles, you know, whatever gives you that focused state of attention, and to stick it on the background, you know, that's absolutely fine as well. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. So far, I know I've given you a lot of information. So just to make it, before we do a little relaxation, because we are rapidly running out of time, I have given you loads of information. So hopefully I've squeezed it in there. The type of relaxations that I do, the type of language that I use, it's not for giving advice. Brains do not like change. Okay, relaxation is absolutely a skill to practice, to learn to do. Same as positivity and being positive and thinking positive. It is a skill. It does not come naturally to some people. Some people find it very easy. Great for them. I had to practice at it. Took me a while to get there, but I did. And now I can put the music on and off I go. Okay, it takes practice. But if you need to do something at the same time initially, do it. You know, whatever works for you. Okay, you don't have to be laid down flat doing absolutely nothing to do relaxation. You know, your crafting and stuff will give you good neurotransmitters, give you happy brain chemicals. And then having something like this in the background can help empty the stress bucket a little bit more as well. So utilizing things like that at the same time is good. Now, the language is written in a way that it's all stories and metaphors after the initial full body relaxation, because brains don't like advice. They don't like being told what to do. So kind of classical hypnotherapy would be like, you will wake up, you will do this, you will do that. You know, you will stop smoking, that sort of thing. And they generally don't work because the brain just goes, no, I'm going to carry on, thank you. It will argue the case to carry on. So it's all done stories and metaphors for the brain to kind of pick and choose what it finds useful and what it would like to use. Okay, so it's done in a very specific way, written in a way as well. So I'm going to do my breath. There we go. Deep belly breathing is the key for that breath. So we're going to do a little relaxation together. I will be sending some music through shortly. Oh, having the drink. So what I have to do is I do have to share, weirdly, I think my screen, which is my media player, in order for music to come through. So just bear with me. We'll see what happens here. Share my audio. No, I don't. I think that's only Teams. Let me go. So hopefully this is going to come through nice and gently. There we go. Okie dokie. So just take your time. Find yourself a nice comfortable position. We're just going to do a little relaxation. Need to wriggle and jiggle, that is fine too. Remember, you don't need to be still for this. In fact, you can still stare at me if you want to. That is absolutely fine. Just find yourself a comfortable position. And I'd like you to do nothing more than just listen to the sound of my voice, because nothing more is needed and nothing more is expected from you. So hopefully Link Fairy's there and she can just tell me with a thumbs up if the music's coming through okay. Thank you. So that is a reminder that you don't need to be able to see me, you just need to be able to hear me. We're going to start by taking a few nice deep breaths together. And if you'd like to, you can visualize that bubble just like I do. So I'm going to take a nice deep breath in through that nose, out through the mouth, through past lips, nice and slowly outwards. Of course, you can breathe normally in between. In through that nose and out. And one more for good measure, in through that nose and out. And as you lay or sit there comfortably, just listening to the sound of my voice, you may be aware of those other sounds around you from your home and mine, but these won't need to disturb you. You can decide almost in the same moment that for now, these noises will only serve to help you to relax even further. And in your growing calmness and comfort, breathing normally now, your relaxation just developing, that body relaxing. And in time too, your mind quietening down, relaxing, being comfortable. All around you is safety. All around you is stillness, for this time is your time. A time for you to enjoy and become familiar with that comfort, familiar with that calmness. And in a relaxation, which you can allow yourself to slowly drift into, you are in complete control. How relaxed you become is totally up to you. All around you is quiet and comfort, that safety, that stillness, time for you to enjoy and be at ease, letting go of all concerns, just leaving them outside the door. And anything you were doing before you began listening can simply wait, for you are more important. You are more precious than whatever it was that you were doing. You're beginning to realize this, just beginning to realize how precious you are as an individual. And if you'd like to close your eyes, you can do. Just realizing how special you are as an individual, how special you are with your own unique talents and gifts and skills, your own attitudes and abilities, your own morals and ethics, and the many other facets of your life which make you that very individual person that you are. You can recognize your successes, your abilities, your ever-present ability to learn and relearn whatever it is that is needed to help you on your life's journey. Now, as you listen to that sound of my voice, just take 2 more deep breaths, allowing each breath to relax you a little bit more. Just breathing away any remaining tensions. Breathing in calmness and comfort, breathing out stress and tension. Just bringing your attention once again to the sound of my voice and the growing calmness of your body. So just take a few moments and just scan your body for any areas of tightness, tensions or discomfort, however slight. Perhaps in your forehead, perhaps in your jaw, your neck, your shoulders. Just release them for now, simply letting them go, allowing them to fade away. Imagine those sensations just fading away, leaving behind comfort, leaving behind calmness. Relaxing, letting go, loose and limp, allowing yourself to just be. And scan your body once again, from the top of your head to the tips of your toes. Any areas of tensions, tightness, discomfort, however significant or slight, allow them to fade away, to slowly fade away to a nothingness. Gradual, steady process of it slowly vanishing. Just allowing it to fade away like a wisp of smoke in a very gentle breeze. Fading away like a snowflake in your hand. Melting away. Fading away like a mist over a lake as the sun rises. Fading away like an echo in a remote valley. Fading away to a nothingness. For in these moments, there is nothing needed as you simply listen to the sound of my voice. You don't need to listen in any special way, just like you listen to a story on the radio or audiobook. And now scanning your body once again, but this time for the most rested, the most comfortable part of you, the most quiet and still part of you, the muscle or the joint which is the calmest and most comfortable at this moment. Just search for it, seek it out, And from there, just let it spread out to the rest of your body, like a gentle ripple in a quiet pool, letting it ripple gently out from that area of the most calmness and comfort to touch every part of you, all so easily, gently, all by itself, without any demand, without even having to try hard. Just notice that comfort. Notice the gentle breathing pattern your body has developed all by itself and in its own time. You didn't tell your breathing how to be so calming and comfortable. It did it just by itself. The rest of your body can and will follow the gentle, soothing pattern of letting go in a natural, comfortable and welcoming way. And as your body calms and relaxes, you will notice too that your thoughts can slow down. Your mind can slow down. As you become more familiar with this steady, welcome release, as your body relaxes, it encourages your mind to relax too. So for now, just bringing your attention back to the sound of my voice. Let the relaxation of mind and body continue for a short while in their own way, just releasing and relaxing, releasing and relaxing. And just that reminder that the more that you do this, the easier it will become. The more familiar the comfort in all parts of the mind and body will become. Your body and mind recognizing that this calmness and comfort has a positive effect, not only on your body and mind, but on your emotions too. So just bringing your awareness now back into the room. And I'm going to count up to 3, and on that 3 you can open your eyes. 1, just noticing those sounds from your home and mine. 2, just wriggling those toes gently, wriggling those fingers gently. And 3, opening those eyes, smiling, stretching and feeling good. There we go. It's a very quick one for you because I'm running out of time. Okie dokie. So, right, have you guys got any questions before I leave you there? I know it's a random wake up and talk again because some people be nicely relaxed still, but I want to give you guys a very quick opportunity to ask questions. I have got some in the box, so I'm just going to have a quick look at those. Thank you for the love. There we go. Let's just... Okay, so someone's had issues with the chat box in the past. I can see your messages, so you're good. Not the only one distracted by all the live videos. So would this cover? So FND, it's more research that needs to be done in terms of relaxation and how it works. There's no reason why relaxation can't help. Because at the end of the day, relaxation is to work on stress and the stress bucket. And for the vast majority of cases and people and symptoms and conditions, we know stress has a detrimental effect on our symptoms. So the more we can learn to relax, the more we can learn to operate that rest digest side of things, the more we know we can calm things down and improve things as well. Not only to kind of calm certain symptoms down, but essentially just live a more happy and joyful life, think better, manage better, hope better. That's why we want to do what we do. When we move into relaxation stage, Oh, I'm so sorry I didn't see this before, Beth, and I really apologise. Hopefully I gave you enough notice there before I did relaxation. I'm glad you found it really interesting. This is really cool. So what happens if you fall asleep? Afternoon meditation, right? Okay, so I had the same issue. Now, if you want to have a nap, great. If you want to do relaxation to empty your bucket better and then nap, brilliant. If you've got the time to do that, I plan a nap most days to manage my fatigue, but I get more out of it when I listen to something like this. If you want to just do relaxation, find out how long it takes, okay? And I simply set an alarm, but I set an alarm that starts to progress very, very gently and get louder and louder, because I do not want to give myself a POTS attack and or fight flight again by doing something really nice for myself and then go being jolted awake if I've started to kind of slip into a sleep state. Now, relaxation is going to give you it's not unlike a light sleep wave, okay? There are certain waves that sleep waves that we do when we do relaxation. We go into a light sleep like state, so it can be very easy to then slip into a better quality sleep. That's why we use the nighttime recording. We want to utilize things like that to encourage better quality sleep cycles as well. But if you're wanting to use it for napping, then like my daytime one, I think, is about 25 minutes. So I would give it half an hour just to make sure that I've settled down, push the button and stuff like that. And then I would put set an alarm for that time. Most of them should tell you to open your eyes and come back around, which you should do. If you don't, the alarm is really, really good if you need to crack on with the rest of your day. But as I say, a gentle one that increases over time, not one that just shouts at you, ideally. And also to change the sound of the alarm every so often, because brains will start to ignore them and carry on sleeping anyway. And okay, so then it impacts your sleep cycle, which is completely understandable. So making sure that you count back from when you like to sleep, giving enough hours in terms of when you nap and things like that. Relaxation shouldn't affect your sleep cycle. If you do fall asleep, you need to make sure that you're counting back, I think, between 6 to 8 hours before you want to go to bed for the napping. So I like to go to bed about midnight. I'm a night owl. I work best late at night. Like, this is why I do presentations later in the evening. I'm more awake and more with it. And I don't start my work hours until 11 o'clock in the morning because I can't function before then. So I try and make sure that I do my naps before 3-4 o'clock if I can, and then that shouldn't affect your then sleep cycle later on in the evening. Sleep difficulty affects it, absolutely. The nighttime one will be really good for you for that. Let me just share my screen actually. I'll put my slides back up and I can give you the QR codes that you're more than welcome to use. So the deep muscle relaxation one is probably going to be your best friend for daytime, because it will, when you go into a relaxed state as well, there is more neuroscience, but I just don't have time, so maybe I'll have to come back and do a slightly different one for you. But when you go into relaxation or trance-like state, the brain and body communicate really more effectively than when you're in a conscious state. It's wonderful. So this is how we do things like pain visualization, reducing pain. We do things like that on Monday nights as well if you need those, because the brain and the body communicate really, really efficiently when you're doing relaxation, because it's not thinking about all the other things that we should be doing at that time. And deep muscle relaxation can be really useful for pain management because it gets the brain and body communicating better. It's really hard for hypermobile people to not know when they are tensing too much because our proprioceptive feedback is so poor. We don't know if we're sitting like this and we're making more pain and chronic pain as a result. So doing things like deep muscle relaxation is really good. It makes the brain and body communicate better, and you can start to then realize when you're sitting tense like this. For a conscious while afterwards, starting something like this, I was telling myself off. I was crocheting like this. I'm wondering why I was in so much pain. Started doing something like the deep muscle relaxation, and I started to notice when I was conscious that I was tense in certain parts and, oh, that's starting to hurt, I'm not sitting properly, things like that. So that can help with the communication. The nighttime relaxation is for bucket emptying purposes and to get you into a lighter sleep state, so you go into a more effective sleep cycle. So you empty your bucket more with it than without it. So utilize that as well. I'm hoping everybody's got that, because I need to see my chat box. Oh, I can have it pop up in front of me. How cool is that? There we go. So, and you don't see them, which is always good, because you don't need to see all my other gubbins. There we go. So querying breathing, find it when just breathing in and out through the nose, I'm okay. When I breathe out through the mouth, I tend to feel slight lightheaded. So should you practice in a safe place or stick to nose breathing only? Please do it in a safe place. You're absolutely right. If you're not used to it or there's something else going on, you can absolutely get lightheaded doing breathing exercises. So this is why I say about 3 of them when you're just trying to do it as a quick help for heart rate, blood pressures, things like that, POTS and things like that. You shouldn't get too lightheaded. The fact that you do means you're doing really good deep breaths, which is great there, Claire. But if you're practicing them and doing a good chunk of them, absolutely sit or lay down, head supported, great. So belly breathing, I had an old video. I'd have to do breathing for the group again and get it recorded for you all. But I've got some different belly breathing exercises. It's making sure that you push your belly out when you breathe deeply through that nose, and then when you go out through the mouth, nice and slowly. Full belly breathing is best, but yes, you're absolutely right, it can make you lightheaded. So before I do things like that with people, I always make sure they're sat or lie down. I do have an email. You can email me at the HMSA if you've got any queries, questions and things like that. My email is kim@hypermobility.org if you want to email me about HMSA stuff, anything about relaxations and stuff like that. Yeah, just you could drop me an email. It's not a problem at all. So is there a place to rewatch this? So you mentioned a few things in the brainwave section you'd like to rewatch. Yes, Tracy, absolutely. So it's all being recorded as we speak. And what I think our link fairy will do is, as soon as it's finished processing, she'll get that link up somewhere on our website. I think there's a video section, but also an event section. Link fairy, I'm not sure if you could just pop something in the chat box. And unless you want my work email, but you've got my HMSA ones, that's fine, you can contact me through there. But yes, the replay will be available indefinitely on the website somewhere. I do have an email. You can email me at my Hypermobility one. Brain stuff so interesting, brain scans, etc. Busy, calm brains. Yeah, me too. I find it fascinating, and this is why I like to give you guys loads of information as well, because when I was training, and this is all stuff that I've learned as well on the way, doing continuous professional development and all sorts of things to ensure I'm giving the best for my clients as well as you guys, you know, helping you guys out, to make sure that you are really informed about what happens in the brain and why, because we don't go through life knowing this stuff. And I think it's really important that we do, because I think it gives us power back, knowing why things are good for us. You know, just go and do relaxation doesn't go, well, why? And actually our brain can start to fight against these suggestions of relaxation, deep muscle relaxation. Just go and do it, it will help. Why does it help? Your brain will just go, no. So haven't had an unbroken night's sleep in over a year because of pain. I absolutely get that. I have got a talk that I've done on pain and pain management from the live stuff I did with Joe earlier in the year. That's in the members section. You can utilize that into your heart's content. We've got loads of like management strategies around pain, how to sleep more comfortably, helping distraction techniques and things like that. Val can't see messages in the chat because they're going direct to me, but I can see them. Yes, again, my email, you can use my HMSA one, and then if you need me for something else entirely, we can talk differently. So summary of the weekly class. Sorry, I know we're running over time. I'll try and whiz through these best I can. So a little summary of the weekly relaxation. I just do relaxation. We come into the Zoom room, we have a quick hello. It's really lovely. I've got regular people that come in. We just carve out time for you. So I go live at 8 o'clock on Zoom for the HMSA. We have a nice little hello. Usually, I think most people like to have their cameras off, because at this point it's PJs in bed doing relaxation, because why not? We have a little chat. We do a nice little relaxation, little chat afterwards, and then you go on with your day. Some people like to use it for falling asleep. So I will do a relaxation. The option is to open your eyes, but the option is that if you want to go to sleep now, you turn off your device and have a beautiful night's sleep, or you can bring yourself around afterwards. It's totally up to you. So there's options there for every single relaxation. Carry on sleeping, or you wake up again. I'm really glad you find this interesting. Thank you. Could you get these emails, relaxation to email you? So if you want the links to these relaxations, because the QR codes aren't working, then please do drop me an email, kim@hypnomobility.org, and I'll see if it's possible to get them somewhere on the HMSA website for them to utilize as well. Glad you find neuroscience interesting, because I do. It's amazing. Cool. So people asking for relaxation, pain possibly and factors. So how do you get notified about those? Most people will set an alarm for them. And I think there is a social media post that goes up on Monday to remind you, and we drop that in the HMSA members group on Facebook as well, to remind you to come and join me. But most people will set an alarm, and then the links are all on the members section. I've got a relaxation page when you log in as a member, and all the links to previous ones are there, and to the latest one as well. So you just click on the link, bring yourself nice and snug in your as a bug, and just come and join us. You're very welcome. Cool. Okay. So I think I've caught up with all the questions there. So I'm going to have to flop now, because I am pooped after talking for an hour and a bit. So thank you very much for joining me, everybody. I really appreciate you and your time. It's been wonderful to have you. As I say, if you've got any questions, my email is there. So thank you, everybody. Have a beautiful few weeks. Enjoy the rest of your summer. Hopefully not too symptomatic with the heat. But you're very welcome. Thanks for the thank yous, everybody, and I hope to see you guys again at some point. Take care, everybody. Bye bye.